Saturday afternoon in Tempe will feature a matchup of two teams seeking their first Pac-12 win of the year as both squads are coming off close losses last Saturday. I'm Nick Borgia of Devil's Digest, joined by our publisher Hode Urbino. And Hode, the fact that both teams are still winless in league play may be one of the only things that Arizona State and Colorado have in common, because both teams have been trending quite differently for nearly the first half of this season.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Nick. I think when you look at Colorado, it was basically all the talk of college football for the first 3 weeks. You can argue that in their season opener they beat a somewhat overrated TCU team that was ranked at the time, and just by virtue of that win, the Buffaloes were able to get into the top 25 and stayed there for the next 2 weeks as they beat Nebraska at home as well as Colorado State in a neutral site game. And I know that a lot of people were fully anticipating Colorado coming down to earth, if you will, when they did play Oregon on the road and played USC at home. So maybe the 3-2 record isn't all that eye-popping or surprising. Granted, they had a very low bar to clear, winning only one game last year, and all the hype around head coach Deion Sanders, stuff that he said in the media, stuff that he actually did on and off the field, definitely did take a lot of attention. And I think that ASU fans in some respects were somewhat jealous that here's Colorado beginning the season much like Arizona State, trying to bounce back from a horrible 2022 season, and they found more success than ASU did. But like you said, in some respects, they're really in the same boat. Here they are in week 3 of Pac-12 play. Both of them are still looking for their first Pac-12 win. The way they got here, was quite different than ASU did, and vice versa. But nonetheless, I think these are two teams that, regardless of what their respective records are and how they fared, both in non-conference and conference play, are both seeking the same goal. And that makes it, I wouldn't say desperate times for either team, but definitely very, very anxious to finally get one of those conference contests in the win column.
So at 3-2, Colorado's not a perfect team, but one thing they don't have much trouble with is lighting up the scoreboard and the stat sheet. This is a group averaging 34 points and 440 yards of total offense per game.
Yeah, and it all starts with the quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, the son of head coach Deion Sanders. And if there are any questions on how he would adjust from coming from Jackson State to playing at the Power 5 level, I think those question marks have been answered pretty quickly. Here he is after 5 games, passing for 1,781 yards, an average of 356 yards, 15 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. And look, I mean, granted, he had that horrible game against Oregon on the road, where the offense as a whole only scored 6 points. But I think Oregon's just one more of many teams that are in the Pac-12 that are going to make their opponents look pretty bad on both sides of the ball when you do play on their home field. But it's definitely an offense that has not had much problems at all, really lighting up the scoreboard. Even in the game last week against USC, the reason it ended up being just a 7-point victory for the Trojans was the fact that the Colorado offense did come on very strong in the second half, but did score 14 points in the fourth quarter alone. So this is definitely an offense that is going to be a whole lot different challenge for the Arizona State defense, like it was against Cal when he played a very limited Golden Bears offensive unit. I would say that this offense is really just as much of a challenge as it was for ASU when they played the USC, 2 weeks ago. And if we're being honest, I think when even that game against USC and Tempe, you saw a Trojan offense that was stalling at times, maybe taking their foot off the gas pedal a little. And with a team like Colorado, that's something that you definitely don't see. If anything is registering as a shortcoming for this unit for the Buffaloes, I would say a severe imbalance between the passing game and the running game. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, wait a minute, they actually rushed for 193 yards against USC. But keep in mind that for the previous 4 games prior to that contest, they rushed a total of 223 yards. So was that rushing performance against the Trojan last week in operation, or really things, a sign of things to come? I think we're obviously going to get that answer on Saturday. But I think if the Arizona State defense, first and foremost, you do have to make sure that the passing game doesn't go off when it comes to the Buffaloes. Shedeur Sanders is one of the most sacked quarterbacks, not only in the Pac-12 but in the entire nation. So that offensive line definitely has some issues with pass protection. So I think there's an opportunity for the edge players for the Sun Devils to really have a good day. And I think that you've seen that performance get better each and every week when it comes to sacks, when it comes to tackles for loss. That's something that the Arizona State defense is going to have to register in high volumes. But I would say more than anything, when it comes to the coverage, you're already playing a base where you have 5 defensive backs. So just make sure you can disguise your coverages and really do as much as you can to confuse Shedeur Sanders, because I think when you look at all the defenses that Colorado played to date, aside from Oregon, I don't think any other of those units is really of the caliber of Arizona State. And I think the Sun Devils, definitely have to show this. We all know that the Sun Devil defense is a group that has, on average, played pretty well, even in the 1-4 campaign to date. So they definitely have a tall task against Colorado, but I don't think it's really an impossible one to slow the Buffaloes just enough.
All right, well, if we look at this Colorado defense, even in most of their victories, the Buffs have really showcased a few deficiencies on defense, giving up 36 points on average and really not finding much success defending the run or the pass.
Yeah, and I think unlike their offense with the imbalanced numbers on defense, they are pretty balanced. They're giving up just under 300 yards passing and over 180 yards rushing, a total of 480 yards average per game. And yeah, this is a defense that definitely seems to have its hands full, each and every week. They're missing a key player in Travis Hunter, is actually a two-way player, plays cornerback and plays wide receiver. That's going to be a big loss. On the other hand, they get the services of defensive back Shiloh Sanders, also a son of head coach Deion Sanders. But I think if you look at the ASU offense, I mean, sure, it was a game that got away against Cal, but it still ultimately was the best offensive performance we've seen from the Sun Devils, maybe more complete performance. And I know maybe the bar was quite low in the previous games before the road game at Berkeley, but I think with quarterback Trent Bourget, the way he was able to really get wide receiver Elijah Badger, running back do it all, Cam Scatabo going, even Jalen Conyers at times, I think is really some positive signs. We saw also wide receiver Melquan Stalville, really be a bigger part, as well as wide receiver Gio Sanders. We saw him lining up in the backfield on several snaps. So I think if you're in the ASU offense, you should be looking forward to playing this Colorado defense. I mean, granted, this is a game that you might feel more pressure to be in a shootout, because as we mentioned a couple of minutes ago, this Colorado offense almost scores at will. I think if you're Arizona State, you're just really trying to establish a run, early and often. This is a Colorado defense that, when they do play somewhat decent, it really takes them an entire half to do that. So if you're Arizona State, you want to really inflict as much punishment, for lack of a better term, on this Colorado defense as much as you can early and often. That's something that can be done through a really good running game, through a balanced offense overall. And when you talk about facing a very dangerous Colorado offense, I think as it is, you want to make sure that you're going to win that time of possession and win it decisively. And obviously with a good running game and the new rules concerning the clock not stopping on first downs until it's the last 2 minutes of each half, I think that's an approach that, if Arizona State is able to execute effectively, can really do quite a bit to help them win this game.
All right, so we can all agree that the game last Saturday against Cal for ASU was definitely a great opportunity missed for the Sun Devil to get in the win column. Do you see them having any better luck achieving that feat this Saturday?
I think there's a difference between playing well but actually learning how to win. And I think mainly on the offense and maybe the defense at some spots. When you look at that game in Berkeley last Saturday, there definitely were some positives to take away from that game. But ultimately, did the team do enough to win? Did they actually show that they know how to win? And maybe you can follow that under a plethora of cliches when it comes to college football or sports in general. But I still think it's an element that Arizona State is really struggling with. So I think that until ASU can actually show that they're able to master that specific aspect, which some people will say is really more mental than physical, I don't know how confident you can be with Arizona State chances winning this game. And don't get me wrong, I mean the significance of this game is quite high because Arizona State is going into a bye week, and I'm a big proponent of you want to go into a bye week with a win rather than a loss, because when you have a loss that quote unquote marinates with you just for 1 week, that's a little different than now a loss that's going to sit with you for a full 2 weeks. Oh, by the way, right now your next 3 opponents right after the bye week are against ranked opponents at Washington, at home against Washington State, on the road against Utah. And sure, I think if Arizona State, you can't even look that far at all. But if you want to start stringing some wins, you really need to take care of the games that are, somewhat in the winnable column. Cal, as we both said, was definitely the case last week, and definitely some games earlier in the year that could also qualify as that. But right now, I'm just not seeing Arizona State doing just enough on both sides of the ball to really win a game. I mean, you can even throw in special teams, the punting situation in specific. We know we're not going to see Josh Carlson there as the starting punter. I know some fans will say, well, anybody else punting is better than Carlson, but we don't know that theory to actually be true until we actually see it in the game. So when you have a walk-on punter, out there under the bright lights, or I should say the bright sun on the Saturday afternoon, where you just have no idea how that aspect is really going to play itself out. And as we know, the punting situation for Arizona State did hurt them in each and every game, and I think especially last week in Berkeley. So again, it's an ASU offense that I think can score the most points they have, perhaps all year long. But it's also a defense that's going to have, quite a bit of challenge. And I'm not confident, and I know this has been a running theme, that the ASU defense can get enough support from the ASU offense to really come up on top. So ultimately, I do see this game a win by the Buffaloes, 38-30 over ASU.
All righty, Hode. Well, thank you so much. The Sun Devils and the Buffs will face off on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. on the Pac-12 network. And we will have all the coverage of this contest that should draw a lot of eyes. Keep it locked in at DevilsDigest.com and follow us at Devils Digest for the top coverage surrounding this game. For Hode Urbino, my name is Nick Borgia. We thank you for tuning in, and we will see you at Mountain America Stadium on Saturday.